A viewer found this old game console collection in their attic and sent it to us to bring back to life. Steve over at the TronicsFix channel already got these consoles working, but he hasn't tested most of the games and he decided to send all of this stack over to me to make me do the cleaning. I think I'm gonna start with this NES. It's pretty dirty on the outside, a couple little spots where the plastic is broken, but we've got to get inside and find out what we're really dealing with. We have 6 screws to remove, so let's get those and this little plastic thing out of the way. And now we can lift this off, and there we go. We'll take a closer look inside of here in just a minute. First, because we want to deep clean everything here, we got to remove these 4 screws for these black plastic pieces and the screws that are holding down the hinge for the door. These are unique screws that I actually don't have the perfect bit for, but we can just use a small flathead. We have 1, 2, 3, couple on the back here, 2 more on the side, screws to remove this metal plate. There we go. We can get this out of the way. This actually doesn't look too bad. There's a couple little rust spots, but for the most part, this metal shield looks pretty good. 6 screws here to take out this thing. These middle silver ones are a little bit longer. We can just pull this back towards us and out. We got 2 screws that are holding on the motherboard. We can get those really quick. And now we should be able to pull this all out of here. Kind of carefully turn it upside down and we can see where we have these wires attached. Kind of gripping them from the side with my fingernails here. I'm gonna pull that one out. This is one of those cases where it pays that I haven't clipped my fingernails recently. And now I'm gonna carefully grab the sides of this one and wiggle it back and forth. And there we go. Okay, this board is just sitting on top of this. We can pull it off. It just kind of attaches with pressure right there on top of the expansion port. In order to remove these controller ports, we're gonna have to flip this back upside down and take out 2 more screws. This is all a little rusty here. Makes me wonder if this was sitting in water. Now we can remove that. And these controller ports will just fish right through there. 1 more piece here, 2 screws, and we can get this part out of the way now. And that's it for disassembling this NES. Before we clean that NES, I think I'm gonna go ahead and take apart these 2 controllers and this game and just do it all at once. Should be pretty simple on these, 6 screws on the back of each of them. Let's get those out of the way. All of these screws though are pretty rusty and make me wonder what the boards are gonna look like inside of these once I get them apart. Let's go ahead and look at this one. Wow, so this isn't screwed together and yet it's still stuck. That is interesting because it's really stuck together. Oh, there we go. Wow, yeah, that was really something there. Look at this, pretty gross. Whatever that is that was holding that on there, some nastiness. Why did I choose today to not wear gloves, right? The board looks pretty good though. I think this may be one of those cases where cleaning actually does quite a bit, because that seems like this is what it needs. It's just cleaning. All right, pretty disgusting. Let's go ahead and look at this other one here. Yeah, not quite as dirty. Board still looks good. It is a little sticky on here. And just like the other one, we just need a real good cleaning on all this stuff. Let's move on to that game cartridge. 3 screws here. These are pretty simple to take apart. There's that, and there's that. While all those plastic pieces are soaking, I'm gonna move on and clean some of the rest of this stuff. Use some IPA and a makeup brush. I'm curious what's causing this stain here. Kind of want to take this off here, but I don't actually think I really need to. It's not really lifting, and I think it kind of can just stay there. I'm gonna go over this with some protectant wipes now, just to kind of keep that IPA from drying everything out. Then a final wipe just to not leave any oily residue All right, with that process, I feel really good about putting that back inside of there. This motherboard looks good and I know it's working, but I'm still gonna give it a quick clean. Just a slight bit of corrosion that's built up right here in this corner. I seem to have lost my good stiff brush, but I found this one laying around the shop, so these are nice and stiff. Still plastic, not metal. What I'm gonna do though to hopefully keep that from coming back with rust is I'm gonna put a little bit of deoxit on there and hopefully that keeps it from oxidizing. It's kind of an experiment, but I can take this apart and take a look at it in the future and see how this held up. I'm gonna wanna give kind of a similar treatment to these pins here where the game cartridge is gonna connect. All right, they all look pretty straight still in place, and I'm gonna do the same thing with that deoxit here. Hopefully that makes a nice, really clean connection for the game cartridge when it's plugged in, and we'll be playing Mario Bros. 3 for years to come on this system. A little bit of contact cleaner. Okay, I think we're gonna go with that. This metal plate looks pretty good. A little bit of dirt there, but I don't see any rust or anything that makes me want to treat or clean this further. This one's also pretty good, but we do have a little bit of rust started up top here. Just like with the motherboard, I'll be keeping this so I can monitor it, come back, find out how it's doing in the future. This is a way that I have treated minor rust on a lot of metal parts inside of consoles, and I think I kind of need to do this in order to find out, like, in the future, how long-term of a solution is this? This is the perfect item to do it with since I know I'm keeping it. All right, this does put little tiny scratches on the metal here. Not worried about it. This is on the inside of the system. It's not gonna be seen. As long as I'm stopping that rust, stopping any corrosion, I feel good to go about it. This is a bit experimental too. I'm honestly not sure if this is the idea behind deoxit, that it'll keep this from oxidizing into rust again. We're gonna find out. Got some grossness kind of built up on here. Unlike the console, which we know has been fixed, these controllers are untested, so no idea if these are gonna work. That's a lot of gunk on there. You can just see it coming up on here, even though it doesn't feel like it's making much of a dent. Whatever was spilled on here was spilled a long time ago. I may be overkilling this stuff here, but I just really want good, clean contact points for this to have a hope of registering the button inputs. This looks pretty good back here. I want to clean the ends of these too, and then we'll wipe off the cable. All right, we'll do the other one off camera. Now here's the motherboard for our game. I've cleaned a lot of these and gotten them working again by cleaning these pins before, and we're basically going to do the same thing we do with those. Just a tiny bit of a magic eraser here. I want to make sure those pins are kind of gently cleaned, but just to remove any of that corrosion, which can actually happen from the age-old trick of blowing on the cartridge. These ones look pretty good though. Not too worried about them. With those nice and clean, let me use that deoxit. We're going to essentially put a nice clean coat on there. Now, theoretically, these pins are nice and super clean and will read really good when we insert the game. We're down to one final item before we return to that soapy water and clean that stuff up. And I obviously didn't want to put this in the soapy water because of this label. It'd be a bad idea. It's already starting to come up here in the corner a little bit. So we're going to clean around this as carefully as possible. This will really easily run from on here into that label. So I'm just going to be really super careful. I want the cleaning power of the IPA, but I don't want so much of it that it runs. Being super careful with this magic eraser. Some people don't like to use it at all, and I definitely use it less than I used to, but sometimes the clean risk versus reward is worth it if you're careful, in my opinion. Okay, we can see some of that IPA has left a little bit of residue on here. I'm actually just going to take my microfiber cloth and a little bit of glass cleaner, and that should be okay on the label to just kind of go over everything now. Essentially polish that away and leave everything looking a lot better. Okay, let's take a look. What do we think? I think that's good enough to play. All right, we can finally come back to this stuff now. Let's get it clean. We might need a little bit of spot cleaning after doing this, but for the most part, this is gonna cut our work down a lot. Not surprisingly, these button areas need a little extra work. Oh, this one's gross. I think that was some kind of sticker or tape. Yeah, there's still a little bit of yellowing on here, but honestly, just cleaning this brought a lot of that brighter gray shine back to it. Soaking definitely helped these pieces. Gotta be careful. I kind of tore this with this stiffer bristle brush here. I think that will still work, but I could replace this if I need to, but I'm gonna keep it for now. So that one just tore off with the soft brush here. So some old worn out silicone here. I have replacement stuff for that, so set it aside. Yeah, here's a little button that tore off. All right, I'm curious how clean this is gonna look just from this. This is pretty stained, pretty discolored. All right, let's take a look. Not perfect, but a lot better. Definitely hopeful enough that we will be able to use this and feel good about it. Let's check a few of these things now that they're dry. That little scuff doesn't want to come up, but we got it. I don't know if this is a wound on the plastic or if that's something that I can get up. It feels like it's raised up above. I'm gonna risk very carefully. Huh, it was something that would come up. Tiny fleck of something sticky on there. So we have a few wounds on here, little chipped, broken pieces of the plastic, but otherwise, this thing cleaned up good. I want to take these pieces of Velcro off of here. They are wanting to pull the feet up with them. I don't love that. So I'm gonna try to work this in there and just get what I want. I'm hoping that doesn't get underneath the foot there and end up making that come up too. What a weird thing to put on here. That is some kind of glue. All right, I think we pretty much got it off. Looks good. There's always just a few spots that get missed when we do the wash, like in these. We'll clean all that stuff up and then put all this stuff back together and test it out. Finally, we need to replace these two pads that have the broken little button knobs on them, and you can see on this one, it's tearing off. They're pretty flimsy. I actually had to take apart 4 more parts controllers that we had sitting around here in order to find 2 of these that weren't worn out already. Let's put this back together like this. Looks good, but we gotta see if it works. Looks like we're good to go. Next up on the list, we have this beautiful front wood panel Atari 2600. In order to take this one apart, we just got to remove a few screws. Here, 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 and here. I think it's just sticking here. Yep. Well, I can see why Steve gave me this to clean. The board can use a little bit of it, but the main thing, just the inside of this case, pretty gross. First, I'm gonna use some air to just kind of clean off the surface. This is kind of messy that I want to rinse this off. I can kind of bend that up a little bit without breaking it. One good reason to be wearing gloves today. Okay, I'm pretty confident in that spot. Okay, outside of this metal, this side is pretty well clean. This box right here, as much as I'd like to pop it off, it would require desoldering this little board right here on this side and this side, bending all these metal clips out of the way and pulling this off. And since this is working, I think I'm gonna leave it alone for now. But this box right here, looking at it, I'm not sure if it's actually soldered on there or if it's just these little metal clips. There's one kind of on each side that look like they're twisted to hold it in place. I'm gonna try taking this off to see if I can de-rust this plate at least. This is experimental, but let's just see. One more. There we go. Hey, look what we got. This stuff's been pretty well protected, but it's still worth going over, even though it's not nearly as dirty and bad. Okay, we got this all clean, and now I'm wondering, because this feels a little loose, does this backside just pop off now with these same tabs holding it in place? Or is there more? Can't quite tell by feel. I would expect one of them at least to come loose, and even though it feels a little loose, none of them are like giving. But I could be wrong. Could just be my inexperience with taking these apart. I think it is. Think it is. Yeah. Yeah, we got it. There we go. And I'm glad I took this off because look at that. Definitely a spot that's gonna be worth cleaning, even if this side doesn't look that bad. There we go. I feel good with that. Back to this side though. Oh no. I didn't think I was putting a lot of pressure on here, but we broke one of these little plastic pins here, so we're gonna have to glue that back on. I'm gonna go ahead and clean all of these before I glue this back on. All right, we're gonna bring a Dremel tool into this. Okay, we got the rust out of here. We'll just give this a good wipe now. All right, back to this, and I think our switch is good to go. So let's put this back together. All right, got these pieces of plastic. Then we can put this Atari back together. I can already see the water turning color just from this. All right, that one's ready to take upstairs and rinse. And now we've got this grossness here. Let's see if we can get that in the light. Pretty disgusting, that's why I saved this one for last. Let's rinse it off, dry it off. This one goes back together the same way as the Nintendo. There we go. But before we test this one out, I have one more Atari to clean and then a bunch of games and the controllers. So let's get to that second Atari. All right, here's our Atari 7800. Doesn't look very complete. Let me get the rest of it. Right there, that part, of course those parts, some of that. All right, so clearly we just need to clean all this up and reassemble it. Just kidding. Obviously this shell is beyond repair. So I'm gonna take this shell off of this non-working Atari 7800 to put on this system. So let's get rid of all this broken plastic, take this thing apart, and then clean the board. Just like with the other Atari, we just have a few screws to remove. 1, 2, 3, 4, and one that was already removed. And another one that was already removed. I wonder if I have 2 more screws in that box of broken stuff. Sure enough, looky there. I've never taken a 7800 apart, so I'm gonna pull this apart carefully in case there's any connecting cables. Don't need this. But you never know when we're gonna need to farm some kind of a part off of here. Probably won't happen, but we're gonna put it in storage anyway. For the shell, these are the two pieces we're after. The bottom here, which can use a little bit of a clean, so I'm gonna go ahead and run it through the soapy water. And then this piece, which has a couple of buttons attached. They're on springs, so I'm not gonna put this in the soapy water. I am just going to give it a clean with cotton swabs and the toothbrush. That way I don't have to worry about causing rust inside of these mechanisms. And here's the original board that we're salvaging. Take the bottom off. We do have a little bit of rust down here that we're gonna take care of. And then we just have this motherboard with all of its mechanisms. It looks pretty good and we know it works, so we're just gonna clean it like the other one and we'll have this project done pretty quick. I don't know if you'll be able to see this down in there, but deep inside of where the cartridge sits inside of this board, it's really sticky in there, like something got spilled. And we actually had a game cartridge that we stuck in there when Steve was testing this board on the TronicsFix channel. And it took quite a bit of effort to get it to unstick to get it out. Not long enough to get deep in there. Let's try this. Kind of hard to see in there, but yeah, I think we're getting it. It definitely looked a lot worse beforehand. Just a little spot of rust here. And again, this is my own personal choice to treat it this way. And I'm gonna check these in a couple years to see if any rust has come back or if just removing that active rust kind of stops the decay. I'd never even think about doing this if this were on the outside of a console, obviously because of all these little scratches that we're putting on here. But on the inside, this is good enough for me. I was just about to clean this bottom shell in water, and then I realized this sticker here, it wouldn't handle the water. It doesn't seem to be laminated or protected in any way, and so we're gonna clean this just like the top shell, just like we did the motherboard. This one we were already planning on cleaning this way. I have a small pile of controllers over there that came in this box, but I'm just gonna take these two apart to clean up, one of each kind, and hopefully they work, because I wanna get this out of the way and move on to the part of this project that I'm actually most excited about. 4 screws back here. A little rust. All right, it's gonna be really stuck together. This is just interesting. I'm fascinated by this design. So this here is just kind of attached. We can disconnect these. We just pull all these pins out, make sure to know which color goes where. We can fish this wire through here, get it out of here, clean this thing in soapy water. But I don't see today a reason to have to do that. We're just gonna clean it like this and put everything back together. You can see how these pads where this joystick connects, it's just gonna have these rough kind of plastic things that even have like a little notch on them. Is gonna just rub against those sensors, and that's how it's gonna determine that it's getting inputs by those just kind of rubbing on there. And you can see in this design, obviously it's not designed for longevity. Like it's gonna wear this out, kind of make some grooves in here. So yeah, we'll see if it works when we put it back together. I do have a little broken piece of plastic that if that's loose, it's going to definitely affect how this one hits that sensor. So I'm going to glue that back together. Ooh, that was more than I wanted. No matter how much I try to glue this, any amount of pressure is just gonna push it back down and break that seal. Just have to really be welded together. So I'm gonna go grab the one that's in another one of these controllers that isn't broken. All right, this is from that second controller that I was trying to get working, and just like the other one, as soon as I went around and was trying to clean this, I realized it's actually broken too. So I'm done with these particular controllers. I'm just gonna use the one that I have that I know is working, and we're gonna move on to that other one. I've never taken one of this style apart before. I assume it's pretty similar. 4 screws here. Screws out. Interesting spring in here. It looks like it's actually kind of like glued down here to the bottom to stay here. So we'll just hand clean that. And then we actually have a wire running up the joystick here in this one because it has a click button here. And I'm guessing this electrical tape isn't factory. So interesting solution someone had here to a broken joystick. We're just gonna kind of give it a basic cleaning and see if it works. No idea if it's working at this point, but looks better, and we'll test it with everything else. I'm finally down to the final stage of this deep clean, and this could be the most overwhelming part, but I want to show you something outside of my studio. That's an overwhelming amount of games to try to clean and restore at this point, at least today. So what I decided to do is choose the 8 games that I most wanted to play. 1 game for the 7800 because it's Galaga. And I'm gonna try to clean this game up and leave it as it is from the factory. But with these 7, the labels are coming off. In some cases, the labels are already off because the glue they used to use on these Atari games just didn't last. So I'm gonna clean these one at a time. And then for these 7, I ordered some replacement stickers on Etsy. Shout outs to the graphics lab for doing this for us. No sponsorship or affiliation for the video, but yeah, they look legit, they look original, and they will hopefully bring these games back to looking like they really should when I get them nice and clean. So I'm gonna do these one at a time, and I'll show you the process on the first one, and then we'll just do the other ones off camera. So let's get to it, and why don't we start with one of the most famous of all time, Pac-Man. Before we do anything with this Pac-Man game, I want to explain how this works. So we can actually open this up completely. Once we remove the label, there is a screw hiding underneath the label. You can kind of see the little circular indent right there. And with that screw out of the way, we can pull it apart. When the sticker is on the back, that's another thing that has to be removed or it would be hurt, or it'll just kind of stick and stay together while you open it up and it'll hinge in the middle of the sticker. No problem with the stickers off there. But actually, we can just take something like a flathead screwdriver or something that you can fit down inside of here and release the door on each side and then push this little door down, and that gives us access to the pins. And basically that's all we need to do. I don't see any reason to pull these completely apart, even though we are replacing the labels on them. I'm going to warm up the glue that is on this sticker with a hairdryer just to hopefully make the removing of this label and cleaning out the residue a little easier. That was kind of fun. Let's clean the inside first. See how dirty these pins get. All right, now using the dry side of my cotton swab, I'm gonna put a little bit of that deoxit on it. And I do this on Nintendo games. I'm assuming the same principle applies for an Atari game. Okay, now let's just finish cleaning everything else on the surface here. And I really want to make sure to get all that residue from the glue cleaned up here. I'm going to see what that looks like when I wipe it up here now. Well, still a little bit here. I'm just going to go over it again. I just want this as clean as possible to put that new label on here. All right, I'm pretty confident now that putting that label on is going to be nice and good and clean. Let's finish cleaning the rest of the surface here. This part of the plastic, everywhere except for where the labels go, it's kind of got a little bit of texture to it, and the pores in there just really love to grab the dirt over time from your fingers. So that's why I'm using the toothbrush. I am convinced to commit the unpardonable sin here and bring in the magic eraser. Gentle pressure, but just need to be able to clean out all that dirt stuck in those grooves. I don't want to put so much pressure on here that I end up wearing this or effectively sanding it with this. Just trying to lift the dirt out of those pores. See that? I am confident in my process and what I'm doing, but fair warning, if you're emulating my methods, magic eraser is abrasive. It's a very gentle sandpaper, essentially. That's what gives it its cleaning power. So you want to kind of be very careful, especially when you're cleaning some kind of a surface like this, because you can kind of wear it away. So let's just polish the outside of this up now. All right, so that's better. I think I'm good with that. Let's just clean this top part. All right, we're ready to put this label on. I'm nervous. I want to get it set correctly. And normally I would put my face like right over it so I can make sure it's lined up, but then my face would be in the camera. So much easier to work when you're not filming. How's that look? It looks slightly off. And point of no return. I tried lifting it up. It had already decided to stick, so that's what we got, which is good. I mean, that's going to be a good label. It is just ever so slightly crooked, which you probably can hardly tell on there. I'm going to try to do better on the other ones, but I am happy with how that looks. That looks great. Now we'll just rock that up onto its face and apply this sticker. There we go. Not bad. That looks awesome. All right, I am finally done with this process and I'm looking over this stuff and honestly, it just makes me feel like a kid. I love it. Obviously, we still have to test out the Ataris and I'm gonna do that really quick, but just the satisfaction of how everything looks. I'm especially happy with how these games came out. These labels are incredible. And if you're ever considering relabeling game cartridges like this, I'd give a strong recommendation to Graphics Lab on Etsy. They did an amazing job. So yeah, let's do it. Let's try them out. Let's find out. I don't know if I'm gonna have to change any of the knobs on here or anything. Channel 3. All right, now this one. I'm not getting any indicator light here. Unfortunately, I just don't know what to do with this Atari 7800 for now. So this is going to become a project for another day. I can consult my boss, Steve, and we'll find out what we're going to do with this. For now, I need to call this project done. If you enjoy the process and like hanging out with me, I want to invite you to stay with me. Click on one of the videos that YouTube will recommend right down here at the bottom of the screen. I hope you enjoyed this journey and we'll see you next time.